Yeah. And then I did what other one? With the fish, I did Man from Atlantis. I played a mermaid. And Starsky and Hutch, I did several of those. They're still on.
Yeah, both two female detectives.
Yes, yes. And so they're still on. You can watch them on that channel. I don't know, what is it, Bravo or whatever.
Tyne Daly's son is an actor.
Yeah? Do you know Tyne?
Tyne Daly, yeah. Her son is an actor here on television.
Really?
Oh, she took the part of us. She was in Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
Tyne Daly.
I worked with her remember Farley Granger? But nobody remembers.
Yeah, I remember that
him?
name.
He was a very funny man and very nice. Tom, do you remember Farley? No. He was funny. He sent me flowers. We did the thing called The Haunting of Penthouse D. It was my first TV movie. And Farley was just terrific. Just terrific. What was the movie he was known for? The Hitchcock film, Strangers on the Train.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was good.
Hitchcock, right? Yeah. So anyway, they from acting, I went on to becoming a writer, and I became an alcoholic in 1980. And to get sober, I had to write about my life. There's a thing called the steps. Anybody know the steps? 12 steps. So the fourth step is you do an inventory, and I wrote about my life, and I enjoyed writing and never wanted to stop. And then they say you have to write about everybody you're angry with. So Friends in AA had 5 pages and 7, and I had 500. So what if now? Yeah, and then they say, now you can never write a book with this. Well, you don't tell me never. Pan Am told me never. Eileen Ford told me never. I don't listen to never. I also don't listen to coulda, woulda, shoulda. Anybody who says you coulda, shoulda, woulda, go away from them. Just keep those out of your consciousness, at least I do. So in any event, I had 500 pages and I wanted to make a book of it. What was I going to do? Now, I was in New York, and I read in the paper a man called Norman Mailer was speaking at the Thalia, which is a movie theater on West Broad. Anyone know the Thalia? So in the snow, I went up to the Thalia, and there was one seat left in the movie theater. It was Destiny. It had my name on it, obviously, and I went in, and Norman spoke, and he said, when you're finished, I'll be in the back signing autographs or whatever, if you want to talk. So I went back, and my father, who had been very sick, I loved him very much. He was my hero. He had what's called chutzpah. My mother was a farmer from Shoemakersville, PA, and my father was blue blood from who knows where. He had an uncle who was a Civil War hero, General Lou Wagner. So my father used to sell insurance. He had 3 jobs. He was an efficiency expert. And one of them was insurance. So when there was a fire on the block, he'd go up and knock on their door and ask them if they wanted insurance the day after the fire. And Mother would say, "Ach, du lieber Herb, you're embarrassing me. How can you do that?" And I loved him for his chutzpah. So when I heard Norman was speaking, I wrote a note and I thought, well, maybe I'll invite him for a cheeseburger. And sure enough, I did. And he showed up. And the next day, we met at the Lenox Hill Coffee Shop. And he went through my 500 pages. And he let it open. He said, you never read a book from the beginning. You let it open in the middle. Who knows Norman Mailer? Anybody know the name?
I know the name.
Yeah. He was, how do you know the name?
I don't remember.
Awards, right?
Probably.
So he became my editor-in-chief and also my lover after about 9 years we were together. And he had 6 wives, 9 children, and tried to stab the second one in an alcoholic blackout. And I was going to get him sober, and I took him to AA meetings, and he liked them, and he used the name. AA doesn't really care about celebrity, but Norman used the name. He didn't say Norman. He used the name Herbert, if you notice that, like the dog, because Herbert was my father's name. So Norman loved AA, and I longed to rescue him, which was like to rescue my father who had suffered from Parkinson's, but it didn't work, and he was surrounded by enablers and people. You know, if you know somebody who's an alcoholic, the way you get them to do what you want is to give them a drink. So Norman didn't drink with me for 9 years. So after 9 years it ended, and I went on to take care of my mother. And I had the best 10 years of my life. She lived to be 100, and I have some, I have a picture of her. I got her some press, and here, Plymouth Meeting woman turns 100. This is Laura.
And on the bottom right.
I showed you all that. You can look at it again if you want. So, oh, they're still running. Good for Chris. You did a good job in Marion. So,
And Nancy.
so after Mother, she died in 2000, and then I married number 8. He was handsome, Kenneth Gambone. I give them numbers so I don't forget. Sometimes I forget their names. Sorry, you don't like that, Tom? It's funny, huh? Number 8. Wasn't he handsome? Which one is the most handsome, Tom? This is Claude Picasso, Pablo's son. He lost all his hair. Now he has plugs. He has $1 billion, but no hair. But I have hair. Okay, so this is Norman and me. This is Peter Sellers. He was delightful. Who remembers Peter? What do you remember about Peter?
No, it's terrible. I'm raising my hand and I do remember, but I can't remember.
He would take two to three rolls at the same time.
Dr. Strangelove.
Right, hold on.
Yeah. And Inspector Clouseau. Peter. Yeah.